97.5 FM and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in sunny Northport, Florida. Quick update, the roads are busy. People are moving around quick. Keep in mind, and I keep trying to tell people, it's better to spend your time in your home or in your house than it is to spend your time in the hospital. So if you're out there thinking, I got to get somewhere quick, just slow it down just a tad. 95 mile an hour on 75 and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, probably not a good idea. So let's not spend months in the hospital. Let's spend months with the family. But I got two very special guests in the house today. Alicia, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. You're a mainstay, just a fantastic lady. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me once again. So, yes, my name is Alicia Sid. I'm the author of the book Success is Subjective, and I'm also a practicing attorney. So thank you for having me.
Well, and this is International Women's Month, and I thought of you when we did this. So, what have you done to celebrate International Women's Month this year?
Well, actually, I spend it like I do most times, really just trying to motivate everyone to try to be a better me. But this month in particular, because we're still under that quarantine kind of vibe, even though the state is opening up, I find the time online to mentor or inspire women in any way that I can. So even if it's just a simple interaction on my Instagram, I do poetry, and so there's this whole poetry group that we kind of circulate and read our poetry to the audience. I have a poetry book coming out as well. So in doing that, you listen to people's words, ideas, their feelings, and if you can encourage them to either continue to write or let them know how great they are, it's the little things that matter. It really is. And that's really how I've been doing it, bringing attention to the fact that women have been great and will continue to be great and contribute to society. One of my main pieces is called My Floor, and in it I talk about the ceiling, that whatever ceiling is set for you, you should let it be your floor, because someone else is setting that ceiling for you, because only you can limit yourself. That's usually the theme that I promote all the time, especially in Women's History Month. I certainly talk about that even more to women.
Well, anybody who spends more than 30 seconds with you is infected by your excitement level of what you do and who you are as a person. I love having the conversations with you because they're inspiring all by themselves, let alone talking about a book or setting limits for yourself. I like to bust through the floor. If somebody sets me a limit, I'm going to bust through it. That floor is now my ceiling, so I'm going through the ceiling.
Yes.
So I understand exactly what you're saying, and it's awesome. How can people get a hold of your book? Because the last time you were on, we really didn't talk about how they can get your book.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that you asked. Well, the book is available at anywhere books are sold. So it's available on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at Books A Million. You can go to a store, they'll order it for you if they don't have it in stores. It's actually also available in the Florida Public Library System right here in Sarasota, so you can borrow it if you can't afford the $22 for it. As well as it's available in the New York Public Library System as well. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that the books were available in the public library system, because when I was growing up, that was how I got books, right? I would go and I would borrow the books from the library, and I think it's very important to ensure that there's access and equal access to my book, which is really talking about having a level of how to moderate things in life and mitigate things that can be very impacting that may not be truthful about your success and how you measure yourself and value yourself. So I'm actually having a book signing next week, Wednesday, at 7 p.m. And it's a virtual book signing, John, because due to COVID restrictions, we can't go into Barnes & Noble Books A Million to have a proper book signing. So I'm doing it virtually. If you want an autograph book, people have actually ordered it already. They have to order it directly from me. They can't buy it from the store.
Okay.
They can reach me on my Instagram at my name, Alicia Fid, or they can email me, aliciafid@gmail.com, and then I can tell them how they can pay for the book. So they pay for it. I'll be signing these books next week, Wednesday, online, live, on Instagram for people that have ordered books. I'm excited about it. I have not seen anyone do any virtual book signing. I'm doing it, and it's really exciting. People actually ordered books, John, and it's fun. So I'm going to be signing it. I'll just call out their first name, like, hey, thanks, John, for getting my book, so they can still have that feeling of seeing an author, signing the book after they've purchased it. So that's really what I'm doing. But again, it's success is subjective. My name is Alicia Marie Sid, and they can go anywhere and get it. But it's a really, really neat book, John. It really is. It on page 44. I talked about the billionaire.
What's the name of the book?
Success is subjective. Give yourself a hashtag check mark.
Nice.
So the hashtag symbol is there. Yes, success is subjective. Give yourself a check mark. So let me share one of the experiences with you, John.
Absolutely.
So on page 44, it's called The Billionaire. It's about a page and a half, right? So this book is like 100 pages, easy read. And in this scenario, which truly happened to me, here it is, I'm representing this billionaire, right? So I'm a senior attorney for this major law firm. So my boss, I'm the senior attorney to the senior partner. So he's the one who has the connections for these big wigs, right, John?
Yeah.
So he puts me on the case. I'm happy, all is well the world. I'm winning all these motions on this guy's case. This particular morning, one motion for him, I was heading back to the law firm, which was about 45 minutes away or so. And my boss called me and he said, Lisa, why don't you pop on by such and such an address? We're going to meet with a client as opposed to the client coming to us. No problem. I get into this guy's town. John, the street is named after this guy. I had no clue this guy was this wealthy, right? So I parked on the street named after him, and there was his office building all by himself. And I get there, we're about 4 or 5 lawyers deep into this conversation, into this meeting. I drove a Lexus at the time, and the hood of the Lexus, I was really bad. You know when the sap, falls in your car, if you don't wipe it off, it starts to chip the paint?
Yep.
So I was really bad, and where my designated parking spot was, it was under a tree, and I was just really bad with it. So the hood of my car wasn't the greatest. But the rest of the car, if you're not looking at the hood, it was a fine-looking old Lexus. Nevertheless, we're in a meeting, lunchtime comes around, I'm taking notes, because remember, I'm just a senior attorney, so I'm taking notes from my boss, and I only heard the billionaire goes to the window and says, oh, my secretary's doing her job. She just put a sticker on this crappy car. I'm not thinking it's my car. I'm still typing because even though my Lexus is old, it's a Lexus, right?
Right.
So another attorney goes to the window and says, Lisa, what color car do you drive? I said, a gray Lexus. He's like, they stickered your car to have it towed. So I then looked at the billionaire and I said, what's wrong with my car? I thought a Lexus was a Lexus. He was like, no, that's a crappy car. You need to change it. Can you imagine? And in that moment, I said, just being me is the first sign of success because I've been winning motions for this guy. My brain didn't matter to this guy. The successes that I've been having in the courthouse didn't matter to this guy. All that mattered was that my car, which did not have a note, did not look like how it should look if you are representing a billionaire. And whose success should I measure? Whose measurement should I use to measure success? His or mine? And that's the question you have to ask yourself.
And you know that
Success is subjective.
that judgment is made on multiple levels every day.
Yes,
And
all day long.
and it's how you deal with some of these issues. And I'm glad you wrote a book about it, because it's how we deal with the issues that are out there that confront us every day. And a lot of times it's a standard that we can't live up to, let alone even try or attempt to, because the standard for someone who has funding versus the working class who are working their way up, it doesn't work. It's not designed that way. And
No, if they want you to be in debt. They want you to be in debt to look a certain way, and they're measuring success by the look as opposed to the substance. And I say to each person that's listening today, it is about your substance, not theirs. Success is measured by you, not them. It is your life. Now, there's certain protocols, if you're a realtor and you want to show $1 million homes, then you need to look like you really have been doing something. And I get that. But at the end of the day, like I said, I've been winning all this stuff for you. If I didn't pull up to your place, you wouldn't even know what my car looked like that whole time, because you're coming to the law firm. And so, it was an interesting experience. So those were some of the things that in the book I talked about, how through my network, that when with the soccer team, the current coach that they have, with all the licenses that was needed for the team to be properly engaged, that came through my connection. And so I talked about that as well, that when you're networking, you network from the position of how you can help that person, as well as what value they're bringing to you. And so it was through my network of saying to someone, hey, guess what? I have a project coming up working with the soccer team, and we're going to need some folks now. And that was how she then introduced her husband. I took that resume, took that to the guy who owns the team, and that is how that happened. Literally all through my network. The assistant coach, my network. So those are some of the things that I also talk about in the book, which is how you network. When you network, when you literally walk into a room, when you leave, they should remember you. If they don't remember you, you did not properly network.
right.
And don't go into the room of 100 people trying to meet 100 people. That's very superficial. Walk out with 5 solid people, 7 solid names. Have proper conversation and connections at that meeting. And the worst thing you can do, I don't even know if I wrote this in a book, but I'm telling you, I do it in my speeches. Do not walk around that room just walking around and handing out your cards. It goes nowhere fast. That's literally like them looking on the internet and going, John Rawlings, I don't know this guy.
Right.
So that's the whole thing in the speeches, and that's kind of, people can book me for speeches. I'm speaking at my law school on Monday, actually, as well. And last week I spoke at the public library. So it's really been a good year despite COVID. I'm really happy about entering into the entertainment field, as it goes on. I'm very happy about it. Love the transition.
Well, and I can't tell you how excited I am for you. 2021 is kicked off in a great fashion for you. Anybody with your drive and energy level is going to accomplish a lot of things. And I'm glad you talked about being in a room and trying to meet 100 people, because you and I were very similar. I don't consider myself a sales guy. I consider myself a professional relationship builder. I build relationships that last a lifetime, whether it's with a current customer, a past customer, whether it's friends, whether it's somebody that I meet for the first time. I'm building rapport from the start, because I think you give respect and you get respect. And I think your book's all about that. You want to follow up?
Absolutely. So professional building of relationships. I tell people I invest in human resources.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Did we lose you? I think we lost you. Peter, hang in there.
John, I can't hear you.
Oh, that's all right. I lost Alicia. She must have. She's there, but she's not. She's probably going to call back in. But her phone just went completely out. I may have to bring her back in for a second. But Peter Bartolotta, you can't hear me?
Hello?
I hear you just fine. Marie, can you check the sound for Peter? Hey, Alicia.
Yes, I'm back on the air.
Yes, you are. They're working. Peter was trying to chime in too at the same time, but they're having difficulties with technical difficulties with his sound. So we'll get him back here in a minute. But I'm so proud of you and so happy that things are going well. I know that you called in today, but you know what? We're going to have to do it in the real near future. I can't get that one out. Woo!
Yes, we'll do a video call. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll definitely do a video call. We'll schedule off the air another engagement with you, and we'll definitely do one because I have my poetry book that's coming out soon as well. And then I have another book that I'm releasing by summer. I should have released it in January, but I'm learning this whole new world of literature, which is don't compete with yourself. I should start it out within a year, so I will be releasing it in the summer since this book was released last summer. But I want to do a little bit of my poem, which you call My Floor, and it's available everywhere. It's on every streaming platform right now, John. I mean, John, can you believe it? My Voice to Music is on Spotify and Pandora and YouTube. Like, I am tickled pink.
You're
like tickled pink.
It's scary.
And so it's really inspiring words that I have already, but I want to do a little bit so you can take your break and bring on your next guest. And this is called My Floor. And it goes like this. Now, this is what we call spoken word poetry. Now, again, you can get it on any of the streaming platforms, but you have to start my whole name, Alicia Marie said, Thidd. But here's a little bit of entertainment for you. Are you ready, John?
I am. I'm excited. Bring it.
No one told you the feeling you set for me was ordained to be my floor. My desires are not greedy, just born knowing I deserve more. Let me apologize to you for wasting your time. You never met a woman like me, God's joy and pride. You see, I make mistakes because I'm human, but my purpose on earth I appreciate and understand. Both eyes on the gold tunnel vision, no distraction. Triple class trendsetter in the flesh, Miss Barton. You can't know what you don't know, but with me, here's where you begin. My queendom and strength regenerates within. Everlast connection, no trust wavering. You have to fight for what you want in life. They like to give handouts with hard thrive. God gives push-ups, know the difference, let go of beads in your life. And that's a piece of it. It's called My Floor. It's about 3 minutes long. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for having me. Go get my book, Success is Subjective, guys. Let me tell you, it's really, really great because people have told me, not just because I wrote it. And again, my name is Alicia Marie Thidd. Thank you so much for having me, John.
Well, and let me tell you, I'm giving you a check mark on that.
All right. I love it.
I got to tell you, that was loud, effective, and right to the point. But I can't wait to have you live on video because you are infectious over the phone. I can't wait until they see you in person. And I know we're on the radio, but my people live on Facebook, Real Talk 97.5, they're gonna love seeing you on the radio show live. And you listeners out there in FM land, thank you for listening and really reach out to Alicia and get her book. It's $21.99 on Amazon because we pulled that up on Real Talk, and it's success success is subjective, right? And give yourself a check mark.
Yes, success is subjective. Give yourself a check mark.
That is fantastic.
Yep.
And you've done such a great job promoting yourself. And I really want to have a conversation with you about how you have, one, set yourself up for this, and two, how you've created yourself, because I know you're self-driven.
Yeah.
And so the next time we're on,
we'll
really,
definitely talk about it next time, but it starts with the grandmother.
Absolutely. I appreciate
that's my lead off.
I appreciate
the grandmother.
Well, and we're going to have a grandma talk, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, I've got Peter on now, and
yes, we are.
I will call and get a time scheduled for you, and we'll do a follow-up, okay?
Yes, sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. Take care and say hi to Peter for me.
You do the
Take care.
same. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Peter. How you doing, buddy?
Okay, John.
Oh, loud and clear. That sounds great.
Yeah, I've got you on my computer now. For some reason, the cell phone, it was connecting, but I wasn't able to hear anything.
Well, I like your sound through this much better, and your picture is fantastic.
Okay, great.
So how's everything going with you since I think last week, right?
Well, 2 weeks ago, but it's going well.
2 weeks.
Everything is going really good. Yep.
Well, my week has been a little chaotic because, we've got a couple cases of COVID in the house, so I'm not one of them.
Okay.
And I think the other two are winding down, so I think that's a good thing.
Good.
But I kind of lost a week. That happens, I think. But, we're starting this broadcast once a month to talk about Northport and the economic driver that we are so desperately in need of. Can you kind of enlighten people as to what we're trying to build and insight that you can give to people?
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about an economic driver like it's got to be a business or a, tall buildings and, but it could be a lot of things. I mean, just try imagining for a moment a place where you could bring the family and spend the day on a very nice cobblestone street that's got really nice restaurants, that's got miniature golf, that's got games you can play with the children, rowboats you can take out on a beautiful lake with water features. But a place where the family can get together and spend some time. Well, that place could be Northport, but it starts with imagination. It starts with a vision. And then once you establish the vision and what you want to accomplish, then you start putting things in place to get you there. A good example, we keep spending money on War Mineral Springs. Right now we're looking at spending more money on it to the tune of $20 million to get it to be a quality park. But how does that fit into the full picture? And nobody's been able to really answer that question. And until you can answer that, then no decision is a good decision and no decision is a bad decision. And, it just kind of moves in a direction that it's taken on a life of its own and it's not being driven by a vision or a mission. So, but what if you took a War Mineral Springs and you integrated it to Little Salt Spring and you integrated that into the water park that we have, and you integrated that into the canal system? Now you've got an attraction, if you will, that can attract visitors, will spend money in town, that will generate jobs, and all because of the assets that we already have. But you've got to link them together. Picture a trolley car driving, from War Mineral Springs to Little Salt Springs to the Aquatic Center to the canals, and we've got dragon boat races on the canals and really cool things to go on. That will generate an economy. And there's no buildings that are built. There's no, bad influences in the community. It's all taking advantage of the natural resources we have. We're right now talking, I just heard at the last commission meeting, the Myakkahatchee State Environmental Park. They're looking to sell it to the county. Why? If you sell it to the county and you want to integrate that into your ecotourism, you can't do it without checking with the county first to see if their hours are, that they're going to open it for the hours that you want open. So it makes no sense. But if it's just we can sell it for a couple of $1 million and it fills the coffers, then I guess it does make sense because the city is hurting right now. It needs money. But you're selling off an asset that could be tied into a much bigger economic engine. Am I making sense?
Well, yeah, you are, because I think you're given what we would consider long range goals, that with really the situation at hand is, what do we have in Northport that's different than coastline cities? And we have to think differently in Florida when you're off the coast, because on the coast is one style of life. We're in Northport, and we don't have beachfront. We don't have that driver here. Yes, we get seasonal traffic. Yes, we feel all those things. But I got to tell you, I think that's even changing in our lifetime now because of COVID. I think we're going to see a lot of people who are moving here, who are anchoring down here, who are now having conversations like we did, back in the Vision Northport days, where we said, what if? Yep. And a lot of these things I consider the what if moments. Yep. Is because we're taking what if and we're trying to put a theme to the what if, because right now we have nothing going, so we don't even have really the what if.
Yep.
Can you explain, and I know you're going to be great at this, can you explain how you take that what if and you actually get end result?
Yeah, I mean, you start with a vision, the what if you will, and let me use an example. What does Northport have in terms of the tourism market? How do we tap into the tourist market, assuming you wanted to? Well, we have something that very few cities have, and that's a lot of environmental, beautiful land that's protected. We have the Myakka State Forest. We have Deer Prairie Creek. We've got the Myakkahatchee Environmental Center. We've got Warm Mineral Springs. We've got Little Salt Springs. We've got the Carlton Preserve that borders right on Northport. That's a 25,000+ acre preserve. We just built a bridge across the canal that separates Northport from that preserve. And it was designed, as I understand it, for equestrian, because we've got the estates as a big equestrian community. Yeah. I've taken people on tours and shown them that area that are horse lovers that have to drive to Ocala to get the resources we have here. Well, you start with that idea. Then you say, let's assume you can get agreement to that. Then you start talking to people that can help you meet that dream. So let's take an example of Deer Prairie, of Orange Hammock. Orange Hammock Ranch was 5,700 acres that the city gave away. Basically gave it away to the county and the state and the water district. The only thing that should have been preserved are the 2,000 acres of the 5,700 that was the actual Orange Hammock. So the vision we had was, what if we put a resort kind of back ending into that Orange Hammock area, so that people who want to see Florida in its natural environment can come and stay at this resort, can walk out the back door, and they'd be in it. And then you negotiate with the developer to say, look, the residents of Northport would also like to see that. So can you build an extended parking lot where people can bring in their park the car, bring the family in, and actually have access to all this land that we're preserving so we can see it also. And the trick is, know what you want and then go out and find people that will partner with you and do it. But if you don't know what you want, then you're going to do what the people coming in think they can do with the land, and they're going to force it up. And that's what's happening to us right now. We're just getting developed with the developers controlling the story. we don't have a story to promote. So the answer to you, it's a long-winded answer, but basically decide where you want to go, then put the pieces together to get you there.
So, and I'm going to ask you this because we've done projects in the past that did inspire people, that did drive people to make different decisions than they originally started. How do you envision Northport today, like this moment today forward? I don't want to talk backwards. I think we have to stop talking about what happened before and start talking about how we make change today. How can Northport citizens make a change? What should they do in order to see, ideas that they have start?
Okay, good question. I think two things have to happen. Number one, if you want to see change in your community, you need to get involved at the political side, because no matter what you do as residents, the ultimate decision is going to come down to the commission. They're going to make the decision on where to spend the money and what to do. So you want to make sure that we've got a commission that will listen to the residents. And then the residents need to get together and come up with good, solid programs that make some sense, that show a balance sheet with a revenue side and an expense side of what it would cost to do this. And I'll tell you, and you know this, John, at Vision Northport, we never had a lack of talent to put those pieces together. We put detailed plans together with cost estimates, and we didn't spend a dime. We didn't spend a dime. And yet we've got commissioners who are doing another study. We keep doing studies to determine what the next study should be. It's ridiculous. Why are we spending all this money? There's the Myakkahatchee is a good example. We're going to study that now to find out what the cost of, how much money they can get for that land and appraise it. Why are we doing that? Why can't we use some of the resources we have locally to take care of that?
Well, and I think you bring up really valid points, and this is why I think having this once a month conversation is it's just the springboard to get people talking, to get people listening. If people are out there right now and they're listening and they're engaged in what we're talking about today, please share it, because this is now going to be once a month that we're going to be talking about what we should do as citizens. I really want to believe that there are groups out there that have citizens in mind, but the driving force with the show that we're trying to do is really inspiring people to make change and participate. Why do we have to inspire change and get participation in our town?
Well, because that's the American way. I mean, it always comes from the bottom up.
Can't change that.
Do you want to get on?
My
wife is talking in the background here.
You can't change that people.
So you start with the residents need to feel comfortable that they can step up and say something, and say something without being criticized for it, without being reprimanded for it, and that their ideas are listened to. Okay. And then once you get that, then you start working on collaborative approaches. Now, there are people in the city that don't want to see the city grow at all. If they could, they put roadblocks up on the streets. Then there are people that want to see it grow in up to the projections of 275,000 residents. Then there are people in the middle. So how do you bring all of them together? And what you do, like anything, you work on a common ground. Where can we get some common ground? So there's always, there's some development, there's some preservation. How do you mix it all together and then bring that to the table with a commission that's willing to listen to that and move forward on it? The last commission meeting, they voted on moving forward with the Myakkahatchee environmental park sale to the county to take it to the next step, which all of this costs money. And when they do that, Barbara Langdon, I think it was, that said, let's take a breath. Let's understand what this park has to do with our future and what role it's going to play before we decide on selling it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought that was the most sound, response of anybody up there. For some reason, they're jumping towards, selling it. Now, maybe it's because the city's broke right now and it needs money. So, but that you don't sell off your assets. So
well, and I as many conversations that we've had over the 20 years, it's trying to take your assets that you currently have and turn them into profit margins. We've had these conversations. I don't know how many years now, Peter. It's to the point where I know that there are times where you've thrown your hands in the air. I know that there's times where I've thrown my hands in the air, but there's one common goal that you and I share, and that's the love for the town. And I know that we have commissioners on staff now that their love, I'm not challenging. Their opinions are built. They're there. They've been elected because of those. It's now trying to build the public's coalition on their love for their town that I think rallies a change. And until we get more than 16% of the population voting, which I've been encouraging now for 2 years, it's amazing to me that we are a working class, and yet if you take the temperature of what's going on in the town, it's almost like nobody knows. How are we going to inspire that change? Because I think you and I both know that we have to start at the ground level. We have to get people inspired about where they live.
It's interesting you say that. I had some people over today and we were talking. That's why I was a little late, so I apologize. But the conversation on why should I get involved in the city at this point? When I've spent over 20 years trying to do some of this, and I get criticized because I'm trying to make money, and I've never made a dime off anything in the city that I've tried to do in the city. But the why do you do it when I'm in retirement right now? I should be enjoying life and getting out and not being frustrated. And the answer is, you've got to step in. And I'm seriously considering leaving Northport for a very simple reason. And that is, I believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to tax ourselves out of this marketplace. The city taxes, they're growing every year. All you got to do is look at your tax bill. And we're spending money and not generating any income. We're going down a path, and I don't know how much longer we can go down that path before it becomes almost irreversible. I want to get out before that happens, because when that happens, your home value is going to take a steep drop. You know that in real estate. So when you look at why get involved? Well, you got a choice. You can get involved while you can still do something, or you can not be involved and then get surprised when your taxes become unaffordable. And then you say, what happened? And the answer is going to be, you didn't get involved. I don't know how else to say it. And I don't want to throw a scare tactic into anybody. I've never been that way. That's not what I'm trying to do. I believe people need to rise up and say what you want the city to be. I want to see a city be able to say to the average resident, this is what the future of Northport will look like in 20 years. Paint me a picture so that I can say that's the city I want to live in, or that's the city I don't want to live in. But we don't have that plan. They'll tell you we do, but we have a comp plan, which is a government written document that talks about code more than anything else. It's not a vision plan. And that's what we tried to do in Vision Northport with the Citizen Master Plan. Paint a picture that the citizens, the residents, can look at and say, that's the city I want to belong to. Is it going to be ecotourism? We're criticized because we don't have a hospital. And I say that's a blessing in disguise. Why don't we become the medical city of the future? And people say, well, what is that? And I say, I don't know. But if you want to do that, let's bring the hospital CEOs in. Let's bring the medical professionals in. And what can we do without having a hospital? And I may have mentioned this on your show, but we came up with a solution with 3 hospital CEOs sitting in the room. We need a medical college. Why can't we be training the future medical? This can become a hub. Why can't we do that? And we had actually had conversations going on with Shands. So that is possible. That could be a great asset to the city.
And that's different than what we have anywhere up and down the coast, really.
Nobody's got it.
Nobody's got it.
Tell me, John, tell me somebody on the West Coast that is considered the ecotourism location. There is none. We got 2 opportunities to build a future and go in where there is nothing else, and we can become dominant in that area. Suppose we built a regional entertainment district. There's nothing on the West Coast. Nothing.
And we're centrally located. It's a draw up and down the coast.
Yep.
From Naples all the way up into Tampa.
That's right.
Let alone the middle of the state.
So that's the kind of thinking we need. And you know, you and I don't have all the answers. The residents here do. I'll tell you, every time I talk to somebody, they've got ideas that I hadn't even thought about. We had one woman came up with an equestrian center that would rival Ohio. And we can do that here, where they bring in annually, literally hundreds of thousands of people that are buying gear for their horses. And they do all sorts of shows and everything else. And we were looking at building a center like that, an equestrian center. We're perfectly located for that. Ocala is not.
I agree. And really that features our town and in really the spotlight that we actually advertise.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, we're not this big huge town that has a lot of infrastructure already built. We're ecotourism at its finest right now. If you're a bike rider, you've got miles of road. Yep. You know, we're eventually going to have the bike path hook up all the way through, and that's going to be fantastic when that gets completed. But it's wouldn't you consider that thinking outside the box?
Absolutely.
And you know, in your experience in your career, you don't limit yourself to a lot of things. A lot of times you have to think outside the box. I know what you did for a living, and you know, I do the same thing. I try to find a way. You just find ways to make things work.
That's right.
And you and I, we've had this conversation, and you know, the working class. How do we get them to not think volunteering for your town is work? That there can be a goal and an end game. We know we've done this before, but how do we get people to start just talking about the possibility of change?
Well, I think what you're doing on the show is one way. That's hopefully stimulating somebody to say, hey, I've got an idea. I think the next thing is you need to have a way for that person to talk to like-minded people that are willing to think outside the box and that are willing to say there is no bad ideas. Okay, every idea is a good idea. It's just whether or not it fits. And then, you know, and I think the residents need to get that together and start from the ground up. Then I think the next thing is we need to have commissioners elected who share the fact that they don't know anything. You know, I always joke about it when I ran for office, but I lost. So I don't have the answer to it. But I always wondered if after an election, you know, you win the election and you sit down, you go home after the party and it's nice and quiet. You just sit there in your moment and you just think about, my gosh, the people just elected me to be a commissioner. Wow. And I always wondered, does God come down and tap you on the head and say, you now know everything? Because that seems to be what happens. And we don't reach out to people who know that subject. Sometimes I feel like we have the blind leading the blind. I don't know very much. I'm a generalist. You know me well enough. I'm not an expert in any one field, but I do know a lot of people. And I know who to call when I need to have an answer on a particular subject. I had one commissioner told me, I offered to her, I said, look, I'm in my 70s. I don't need all these names. I got 4,000, 5,000 names in my address book. I said, and if I can help in any way and connect you with somebody, if you have a question, I'll connect you with the right people. I can give you an answer. And this commissioner said to me, I don't even know the question to ask. That's scary. That is a scary situation. And so we need to get residents to rise up, a place where they can communicate, and hopefully to a commission that's willing to listen. And then we need some of these people that are willing to rise up to say, I can make a difference and I can be one of those out of the box thinkers and become a commissioner and run for office. We've got to start making that change.
Well, and I think we are. I really want to think we are. We've tended to go through cycles, and you've been here, I think, longer than I have.
Yeah.
But we go through cycles, and it's because of how we're elected in, and you know how many cycles they can stay. But it's interesting to watch how the growth changes when you elect a different commissioner in. You think they're going in one direction, and then they alter, and you think, well, it's going to be okay, and then it's kind of not okay. But sometimes it's too late, and I want to go back to that 16%, because I'm a believer that we have to start with the 16% that vote, and we have to attach to them. We have to figure out a way to have this conversation, open dialogue, to embrace the voters of our community. And I'm sad to say that 16% is not nearly enough people voting. And I think everybody should ask when there's a complaint of something that's going on. It's the first question I always ask. Did you vote? Because if you didn't vote, I don't register your complaint, and no one else does either. You can only have a voice if you participate, and only change can happen if you participate. And that's all we're asking people to do right now is engage, have this conversation with us. How important was that for Vision Northport back in the day?
Of getting people engaged?
Yes.
It was critical. And the way we did it, you know, we looked at Team Punta Gorda. That was the inspiration to me in forming Vision Northport. And it wasn't the fact that they put a master plan together for this to rebuild Punta Gorda after Hurricane Charlie. Right. It was that they had 1,500 people involved in this organization. How did they do that? The way they did it is they got everybody talking about something they all have an opinion about, and that's the future of their city. And that's what we did with Vision Northport. Then we created a forum for that dialogue. It was a total non-threatening environment. You'd come in, we would have dinner or snacks and whatever, and then we'd sit down and what ideas do you have? And we'd usually wind up, and you've been to those meetings, we'd have anywhere from 5 or 6 to 8 to 10 different ideas people had. And then the group would vote on 3 of them to have a discussion about. They would break into sessions, and they would come back out with a plan of some type. They were either going to meet or not meet or whatever. It didn't matter. There wasn't a good idea. There wasn't a bad idea. There wasn't a good program or a bad program. It wasn't, you know, if you didn't move forward, it wasn't a bad thing. Move on to the next one. And then we got them to start bringing people with them. Bring your friends, bring family to the meeting. And we were getting meetings where we had 100+ people in a meeting. And the most interesting comment given to me by a commissioner was, because they would come to the meetings, they said, we're seeing people here that we never see. It's not the same old people that show up at commission meetings. These were new faces. Okay. And
That's
that,
impactful.
yeah. But then and I thought we had a government that was willing to listen to us, but it turned out that wasn't the case. But whatever, we got to figure out a way to get the people involved. And I always believe that get them talking about what they want in the city. Everybody has an opinion about what they want.
Right.
Let's find out what it is and bring them together in a form of dialogue. That's non-threatening. We never stood up and gave you any of our ideas. Am I right?
Correct. 100%.
It was
all and it was from everyone, from every direction.
Yep.
I know that you joined us late, and I just happened to look down at the clock, and I can't believe we've chewed up that much time that quick already. Alicia, she was fantastic starting the show. I am so proud to have you on once a month. I'm so encouraged by the fact that we're going to have this dialogue back and forth, and really try to encourage people to one, get involved, two, get out and vote, and three, expect change from whatever you're voting for. And I think that's a big deal. I think it's probably something that should have been started a long time ago, and we've talked about that.
Yep.
I hope we can anchor something down with the community, that they actually pick up the phone or type a question in on Facebook and get engaged with us. I don't care who it is. If you disagree with a point that's made, type in your question and come back. And we're going to meet once a month, and tell your lovely wife I said hey. But it's Friday evening at 3:57, and I gotta sign off.
Okay.
And I don't want to. We can talk for 6 hours, but
Yep.
I'm so thankful that you're available to do this, and I look forward to building this up and having a great time with you.
And John, you've inspired me again. Thank you. To be involved in this, and I'm so excited to be involved in it with you. You've truly inspired me. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and you guys have a great weekend. Be safe, and everybody out there, slow down. It's Friday. Have yourself a fun Friday. Don't have an accident Friday. Just slow it down, relax, go home, have some dinner with your family, and have a good night. We'll see you on Monday. I've got guests scheduled, and Vanessa is 1 week out. She starts her show too. So Vanessa Carazone will be on live next Friday. So I look forward to that too. It's going to be a blast, I'm sure. Peter Bartolotta, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, John.